What if I told you that your favorite Disney movie was inspired by a horrific fairy tale or myth? That True Love's Kiss is a cover-up for domestic violence, and that before Happily Ever After came along, the best a princess could hope for was not to be assaulted in her sleep by her dad? You'd probably say, yeah, John, this is the Messed Up Origins channel. Why do you think I'm here? Fair enough, if it's messed up myths and fairy tales you want, then that's what you'll get. Just like last month, I've got 10 examples of times where Disney's sanitizing stories probably spared us all from childhood trauma. But first, a word from channel sponsor, Squarespace. I recommend Squarespace to anyone and everyone who needs a website, because there is no one else out there who makes the web design process this easy. Thanks to recent innovations in AI, you barely have to do anything. Just explain the kind of site that you want and the vibes that you're going for, and Design Intelligence will generate a site with everything you need. But if you want to make some tweaks to really personalize it, you can. And that process is just as easy thanks to the Fluid engine. No matter what you need a website for, starting a blog, sharing your music, booking appointments, or selling merchandise, Squarespace makes it simple and stress-free. To try them out yourself, you could go to squarespace.com/Jon Solo or hit the link in the description. Then, when you realize you love it, use code Jon Solo to get 10% off your first purchase. This has to be the most bizarre Cinderella story I've ever encountered. Donkey Skin was written in 1697 by French author Charles Perrault and opens with some intense emotional manipulation when a dying queen guilts her husband into promising that he'll never remarry again until he can find a bride that's as beautiful and wise as her. But this promise backfires when he can't find anyone to compete with his late wife and resorts to marrying his daughter, who has no choice but to run away. While wearing the bloody skin of her father's pet donkey that gold, she fled to a new kingdom and worked as a scullery maid on a farm, ultimately landing a gig where she baked a cake for the prince. In a Cinderella-style moment, the prince finds a beautiful ring in his cake and declares he will only marry the maiden whose finger fits the ring. And after letting every maiden in the kingdom do her best to fit it, from peeling their skin like potatoes to removing it with acid, Donkey Skin tries the ring, reveals her true identity, and marries the prince. I know I just kind of breezed past the whole donkey gold thing, but I only have so much time with these shorts. Check out the full episode on YouTube to hear the full story and a few others like it. The original Quasimodo almost ruined his friendship with Esmeralda before it could even start. In The Hunchback of Notre Dame story by Victor Hugo, Quasimodo is psychologically dominated by Claude Frollo, the only human to show him kindness throughout his life. So when Frollo orders him to abduct Esmeralda and bring her back to Notre Dame, that's what he tries to do. But this doesn't go as planned. His attempt is interrupted by the king's archers and Captain Phoebus, who arrests Quasimodo and sends him to be tried in front of a judge. The problem here was that both the judge and Quasimodo were deaf, which meant neither one understood what the other was saying. This led to a heated exchange where the judge thought Quasimodo was mocking him and sentenced him to the most humiliating punishment he could think of. The hunchback was brought to the center of town, tied to the pillory, and tortured with whips and stones, similar to how he was humiliated in the movie. Also like the movie, Esmeralda shows up at the end to give him water and set him free, showing her capacity to forgive, purity of heart, and just how evil the rest of the city was, with most of them unaware of Quasimodo's actual crimes and instead simply wanting to punish him for his ugliness. Have you ever wondered why Winnie the Pooh is Winnie the Pooh? Well, apparently so did the author A.A. Milne. In the first chapter of the first Winnie the Pooh book, he includes some dialogue with his son Christopher Robin about Winnie the Pooh's name. And Christopher Robin says his name is Winnie, but he calls him Winnie the Pooh, which A.A. Milne decides he won't inquire about further. But later on, he tries to invent a canon explanation for the unusual name. In the first story from this collection, Pooh finds himself hanging from a balloon for an extended period of time, and after he lands, his arms are stuck standing straight up for a whole week. During this week, whenever a fly landed on the bear's nose, he couldn't swat it, and so had to blow it away with a poo sound. Winnie the Pooh. Pooh. and Milne says, "I think, but I am not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh." I personally choose to believe Christopher Robin just found it funny to name an animal Pooh because it's a silly word. That seems on brand for a 6-year-old. But what about you? Did you know in the original Pinocchio story, he got Geppetto arrested? Seriously, it was one of the first things he did after being born. In the 1833 novel by Carlo Collodi, Geppetto was given a block of talking wood by his friend Master Cherry, after they get into a fistfight for mistaking the talking wood's insults as coming from each other. Then Geppetto heads home to make his marionette, which he names Pinocchio, and the trouble starts the moment Geppetto starts carving it. He gives Pinocchio eyes and they stare deeply into his. He gave him a mouth, and Pinocchio started insulting him. Geppetto gave him arms, and he stole the wig off Geppetto's head. And when he finally had feet, he used them to kick Geppetto in the face and jump out the window. Mind you, Pinocchio doesn't have clothes yet, so he's running birch naked through the streets of his Italian village with Geppetto in hot pursuit behind him. The two then run into a policeman and he arrests Geppetto for suspicion of abusing his puppet. Meanwhile, Pinocchio moseys on home and kills Jiminy Cricket with a hammer. True story. I guarantee you remember the scene from Moana where she and Maui go to the Polynesian underworld, but did you know it was originally going to be a lot longer? In Moana's special features, directors John Musker and Ron Clements talk about their original plan for this scene. After Moana and Maui plunge into the underworld, and little Maui pukes, they would have journeyed to the Cavern of the Curator, Tamatoa's original nickname that I'm pretty sure he never goes by in the final film. On their way to his cavern, there would have been an extended scene with a bat demon named Walu the Wicked, who Maui killed up on the mortal plane. The duo briefly encounters a bat demon in the final film, but this version would have included a tense moment where Moana and Maui have to sneak past Walu, and Moana ends up having a similar experience as Frodo did with the troll in Moria. In the process of escaping her, Moana would have been pricked by a sea urchin that left her paralyzed at the next worst possible moment, when Maui's confronted by some more of his demonic victims. But what would have happened next is anybody's guess. Did you know that Jafar was Aladdin's uncle in the original story? Well, not technically, but he pretends to be. In the Disney movie, Jafar tricks Aladdin into retrieving the lamp by disguising himself as a creepy old man and helping him escape from prison. But in the original, the evil magician meets Aladdin in the street and pretends to be his dead father's brother. In this version, Aladdin's dad literally died out of embarrassment that his son was a man-child who wanted to play in the streets all day, and the magician seized the opportunity to manipulate this schlub who no one was going to really miss. Under the guise of a trusted family member, he took Aladdin into the mountains and revealed the secret passageway into the cave containing the lamp. Then he ordered Aladdin to retrieve it for him. Both versions end with the evil magician making his true intentions known. In the film, Jafar drops Aladdin into the Cave of Wonders as it collapses, and in the story, he actually closes the cave himself out of anger that Aladdin wanted to get out before handing over the lamp. How selfish is Aladdin, though? Oh, let me out of the creepy cave with all the deadly traps. Serves him right. There is a plot twist in the original Tarzan story that Disney was crazy not to include in their adaptation. In both the original book by Edgar Rice Burroughs and the movie, Tarzan's competition for the lovely Jane Porter is William Cecil Clayton. In the movie, Clayton was a hunter hired to protect Jane and her father while they studied the wildlife, which he planned on capturing and selling on the black market. But in the book, he has no such plans. Instead, all he wants is to escape Africa and return to the US with Jane before she falls in love with the hunky, loincloth-wearing wild man who's been helping them survive the many dangers of the jungle. Ultimately, the group is rescued and returns home, and Tarzan follows them, only to find out that Jane has agreed to marry Clayton. The twist comes in when Tarzan learns that Clayton is his cousin and that he inherited his wealth from Tarzan's parents after they were stranded and killed in Africa. Tarzan knows that he could destroy his cousin's life by proving his own identity as John Clayton III, taking his money, power, and even his woman, but assuming that Jane is happy with her fiancé, he leaves them without a fuss and returns to Africa. Don't worry though, Jane ultimately ends up with Tarzan in the sequel. Disney's Hercules got this bit of mythology totally wrong. Hercules and Pegasus were not best friends who went on adventures, slayed monsters, and chased women together because they never met. You heard me right. Hercules, or Heracles, and Pegasus weren't even on Earth at the same time. See, Pegasus was born in the days of Perseus, after Perseus cut off Medusa's head and freed the winged horse along with his brother Chrysaor. Then, still long before Heracles was born, the Greek hero Bellerophon tamed the wild Pegasus and used him to defeat the Chimera. With his ego a little too inflated, Bellerophon then attempted to fly the horse to Olympus, which Zeus found very presumptuous. The king of the gods decided to ground Bellerophon literally by summoning a gadfly to bite Pegasus, and in turn buck Bellerophon off, sending him falling to the earth. Meanwhile, the horse either found a new home on Olympus, or Zeus turned him into a constellation. Either way, Pegasus was long gone by the time Heracles was born. Disney was missing an important detail with their depiction of The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen. Don't get me wrong, the movie is an undeniable classic, but the mermaid's motivation to become human in the book is so much deeper than the movie. Because while Ariel is an adventurer from the very start, her interest in humans comes from trinket collecting, seeing some pretty lights, and catching feels for a handsome one.
Daddy, I love him!
This all tracks with the book, but the movie left out something crucial. Humans have souls, while mermaids don't. So when mermaids die at the end of their 300-year lifespan, they dissolve into sea foam and cease to exist instead of ascending to heaven. When the Little Mermaid learns this from her grandmother, and that the only way to gain a soul is to have a human man fall in love with her, it becomes her singular focus and the adventure begins. I definitely think that explaining all of this in the movie would have been difficult, and that ending would have made everyone in the theater cry, but it does add a meaningful layer to the Little Mermaid's quest beyond "I like humans" and "there's a cute one." You are not going to believe how violent the original endings of The Princess and the Frog were, but for once, Disney is not to blame for softening this one for modern audiences.
Like I told y'all, kissing a princess breaks the spell.
You see, the earliest version of this fairy tale that we know of was collected by the Grimm brothers in 1810. In their story, the princess was relentlessly harassed by a frog whom she agreed to marry if he retrieved her golden ball from the bottom of the well. Only when she tried to back out of her promise, her father forced her to stick to her word. That night, when the newly engaged couple goes to bed, the princess hits her limit with the disgusting frog and throws him at the wall as hard as she can, hoping to kill him. But instead, this cures him of his curse, and he turns into a handsome prince, much to her delight. An even darker one was collected by Joseph Jacobs in 1890 though. In that version, the princess cuts off the frog's head, and that's what saves him. A little different than True Love's Kiss, eh? And we're back. I really hope you enjoyed those and that I was able to teach you a few things about your favorite movies, myths, and fairy tales. If that was the case, I'd be eternally grateful if you let me know in a comment and sacrifice those like and subscribe buttons to the algorithm gods. And make sure to tune in this Thursday for another behemoth of an episode that I can't wait to share with you. Until next time, my name is Jon Solo, and remember, Jon shot first.